Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host, Elias. I have a guess, and I'm rarely going to say this. If anyone could fit into three main buckets of this podcast, it's almost guaranteed this person's just going to return at some point. My only good problem, and I call it a good problem, is just to make sure it doesn't get repetitive. So I gotta pay attention to the previous interview and just see what I can expand on, or just have a completely different topic, which is the more safer route. I encourage shameless plugins and any of that good stuff. I have a guest here, and the nickname, I'm gonna go with the interesting nickname, is Chief Consciousness Officer. I know to some of you skeptics, smart Alex, cynics out there gonna say, what the heck is this scam, this name and all of that? You try to bring consciousness into what? Politics, business? You're crazy. The companies only care about money. I certainly think that way. But let's see. Maybe something that we're missing here. Maybe this is an evolution. Let's hear it out. I don't mind interesting, very different ideas here, because this country needs to change. There's no debate about that. It needs to change. And it might be a change that we may not expect or like. That's probably something that we need, So before I yammer and go on a long tangent in order to give my rant, especially if I want to be in a cynical and negative mode, I'm going to put a lid on that. Let's see if we can change this to a more positive, constructive, and enlightening and evolving conversation. Okay. Let's introduce Charley Johnson, aka this is his nickname here, the Chief Consciousness Officer. Welcome. And let's start the introduction. What do you want the listeners and viewers to know about you?
Well, you've got three buckets. We're going to fill all three: political, companies, AI, and what was the other one?
Development. Spiritual.
So here's the thing. Consciousness is everything. Chief Consciousness Officer is a position that I'm pioneering right now to get every company to hire. Just like 30 years ago when technology took over business and everyone knew websites were going to be a big deal, online was going to be a big deal, and not a single person in the company understood how to create a website or put up a URL or code. And then they hired those weirdos over in the corner as chief technology officers, and now it's a staple. This is the same thing with Chief Consciousness Officer. Consciousness is at the center of humanity, always has been. What's happening now is we're becoming aware of it. This thing, this middleman mind, the only tool we've ever known, the only thing we've ever talked about, ever learned with, is the middleman. It's a disaster. The same mind that creates a problem can't solve it. We need to go to the source of consciousness. And companies are going to want someone on staff who understands consciousness, understands how to utilize it and get the entire organization, not just the executives, involved with their own consciousness. When it comes to politics are always talking about being bipartisan, about removing the division and conflict, which they absolutely create, just like everyone else on this planet. Having someone like me on staff is going to bring a different energy, a different type of question, a different type of perspective to both sides of politics. So this is a position I think everyone needs in their cabinet and on staff. When it comes to self-development and spirituality, religion, whatever you want to call it, that's where most people in your listening group will probably think the Chief Consciousness Officer falls into. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is not spiritual. It can be. We have the construct and the misunderstanding that when we talk about consciousness, it has to do with spirituality. It has to do with the people who left business behind and went on the spiritual path. No, everything is consciousness. Everything physical and non-physical. The religious people that think spirituality is horseshit, it's part of it's consciousness. Consciousness is business. Consciousness is spirituality. It's religion. It's the mountains. It's the air. It's your mind. It's your thoughts. It's everything physical. It's the reason you came from a single cell inside a woman's body. It's the planet. It's the galaxy. It's the universe. Everything is consciousness. More and more individuals are starting to talk about that. Hoffman and Bernardo Kastrup and all those guys are coming from a very scientific understanding, scientific method. They'll never get to the root of it. Spirituality will never get to the root of it. No one on this planet will ever get to the root of consciousness, just like no one will ever get to the root of God. Right? We don't have the capacity with this tiny little perception of a mind to understand any of that stuff. What we can do is understand it's there and we can utilize it better, because what's happened is we've all had a blank check and we've cashed it for $100. I don't know about you, but if I had a blank check, it would have a lot more zeros than two. Incredible amount of zeros, right? That's what bringing awareness to consciousness, this position, and to everyone within a company, everyone within politics, everyone within the world. Once they understand what consciousness is, they've got a blank check to do with what they please.
You hear that? Because it's true. We condition the thing consciousness as a spiritual thing. That's just a light and spiritual thing. While you said it's a lot broader. That's everything. Life, even the organic surface world, the carnal stuff, that's even consciousness.
Yes.
That's enlightening. I certainly think that way. I'm sure a lot of listeners and viewers do think that way. So I know for some of you, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but go on. You're smart. You can evolve. You can get there, and I'll be more patient and gracious with you. Unlike previous episodes, I'll just pass you if you don't catch up with me. But I think that's becoming foolishness. My older episodes, I was definitely more aggressive on the push. But look, we are learning every day. We're evolving every day. I mean, I would hope so. We're evolving every day, or we could stay stuck and be stagnant. And come on, we don't want to stay stuck and stagnant. I mean, nostalgia is fun. It's an emotional kick, but we got to move to the future, eventually, and I'm speaking more to the millennials and Gen Z. I know the nostalgia craze, but it's nice. You want to live the past and glory days. So you gotta go forward. Time only moves forward. And maybe even with a time machine. Yeah, you go back in time. They continue to move forward from there. So I just say, just be open-minded to the evolution, and definitely have a listening ear at least. You could be skeptical. I don't mind skeptics, but don't just shut it down. Don't give just an instant rejection outright. That's all I'm asking you. That's up to you, of course, but I will just say, just be open-minded here. Okay. Just at least have a listening ear. You can be skeptical. That's fine. I'm a skeptic too by nature. That's okay. I welcome skeptics. Skeptics, I think, are pretty helpful. They're not the naysayers. I mean, they can be, don't get me wrong, but they're not there right away. They just question things. They want to make sure they're making the right decision, as opposed to, the early adopters. I like you sometimes, but sometimes you drive yourself to the cliff, especially if the new idea is bad. I like the skeptic camp. Yeah, we're just more cautious. We like to move forward, but we're critical thinkers. But anyways, before I derail this. Oh, so I think you already gave a good definition. Was a chief consciousness officer. That you're the ultimate. You see things neutrally and try to unite people regardless of political orientations, even align themselves, of course, with the business goal, right? And it's true. I think our consciousness has always been there, but have we always paid attention? No, right? No. But it's always been there, even before dawn of humanity. Dawn of humanity, consciousness is always there, right? I mean, it's always in us, but do we always pay attention? No. And so I think this is like the best evolution if we could, be connected into this, right? Even more with all this technological advancement, which is great. But I think being tapped to consciousness, I don't think our true human evolution. I'm sure you could agree with that. It's great we got technology changing all that. But go ahead.
Well, technology came from consciousness. So our mind, the tool we've been given, only knows either or. So it's either good or bad. It's either right or wrong. It's either technology or consciousness. It's both. Artificial intelligence is a construct we've given that intelligence. Where'd that come from? It came from us. It's not artificial. Nothing's artificial. We have labeled it that way. We have put it in sci-fi movies that way. We have built a narrative around it that way, which scares the shit out of people. And just like everything on this planet, because of humans and the mind we've been given, it's going to have people for it. It's going to have people against it. Imagine the power an organization, company, political party, anyone has by having someone on staff who's neutral. Instead of alienating 50% of the world, alienating 50% of the technology, alienating 50% of the solutions, alienating 50% of seeing the perception of everything else on the planet, having someone who understands both sides, who sees 100% of what's happening, who is not shut down when a Republican has the greatest answer on the planet for the cure for cancer, but because that person that said it's Democrat, they don't trust it. Or having a Catholic not really trust an atheist or vice versa. The neutrality is there. We are so polarized and so divided. That's all we pay attention to. Are you for us or are you against us? Well, there's a very small select group of individuals who are going to be chief consciousness officers, such as myself in the future, who are neutral. No one pays attention to them, right? Because when you have a discussion, the natural tendency, almost 100% of the time, is let me find out what this person believes to see if they're my friend or they're my foe. If you start talking to someone like me and they're not friend or foe, I've had quite a few people who it's like a computer, like something freezes. Their brain, they'll just look at me and they'll just turn and walk away. They cannot compute that I'm not for them and I'm not against them. It just doesn't make sense to them because that's all humanity's done since the beginning of time. We truly believe that at some point in the future, and we're all fighting for it, that our side's going to win, the other side's going to lose, and we're just going to go off into the sunset. Okay. Good luck with that. We talk about leaving this planet better for our kids. We talk about removing the division and conflict. We talk about removing the hate. We love our kids. We treat people nicely. We open the doors. For the old lady down the street, we mow her lawn. Everyone does that. Everyone tries to tell me the good stories they do on this planet because of the chief consciousness officer, right? They think it's some type of kindness thing. And I love those stories. And I would agree that everyone who says that they're kind, they love their kids, and they do good things for good people, I agree with them. They're not lying to me. But when it comes to being pushed in a corner politically or religiously or for their beliefs, that shit goes out the window. That's the first thing that leaves. To each their own is no longer a thing. Let's agree to disagree is no longer a possibility, right? So again, what am I missing? We've been doing this forever. We've never been more divided, conflicted. On top of that, we now have thousands of books on how to be happy. We've never been more unhappy. We've never spent more money on our health and never been so unhealthy. We've never had more business consultants and more coaches and more conscious capitalism and conscious leaders, leadership programs doing what they should be doing. They're doing great work. We've never been more unconscious. So what am I missing? Why is no one talking about this? Why is no one talking about levels of consciousness? Why is no one getting to the source of consciousness? Not conscious. You and I are conscious. That's our senses. That's a verb. Conscious. If I get hit in the head, I'm unconscious. That's not consciousness. Consciousness is the noun. Consciousness is physical and non-physical. It's your mind. It's your thoughts. It's your physical body. It's the planet. It's the galaxy. It's the universe. That's consciousness. That's matter. That's what everything's built out of. Although it doesn't make sense, right? Something coming from nothing doesn't make sense. Yeah, to the human mind. But again, you're a single cell inside a woman's body and you're watching this podcast. I have a conscious, I'm conscious, I have a consciousness, I have eyes, I have organs, I have a body, I have hair, I have the ability to talk and listen and see. All of that came from a single cell inside a woman's body. And because 8 billion people came that same way, we take it for granted. That's the most magical thing in the universe. But everything else, quantum entanglement, physics, consciousness, something coming from nothing, that's magic. That's not possible. Prove it to me. Okay. Good luck with that. But we just simply need more neutrality. We need to better understand both sides of the coin, both sides of the story. And the ultimate question to anyone who chooses a side, which most people do, which I don't have a problem with, I'm just bringing awareness to it. The question is, what is better, heads or tails of the coin? They would say, well, that's the same thing. It's the same coin. It's the same thing. Exactly. Heads, Catholic, tails, atheist. Heads, Republican, tails, Democrat. It's the same thing. You guys are killing each other over it. You're hating each other for it. You are creating division and conflict on this planet and leaving this planet worse off because of it. Not because of the other side, but because of your side as well. Someone has to bring awareness to that. Someone has to bring clarity to that just so we can be more aware, so we can go from here and open it up a little bit. When we open it up a little bit, maybe we'll have a little bit more compassion and empathy. Maybe we'll understand that that other side that's the devil and we really believe the world and they're ruining it and we're the ones fixing it. Maybe they think the same thing. Maybe it's both sides that are creating the chaos that we don't want to do.
That is, that's one of the things of this podcast. Look, listen, maybe I'm just going to briefly review this for those who are just paying attention, right? I'm really a mix of two. I'm really like mixed of the two, and it depends what issue you're talking about. But even then, I've taken sides on what I think is right. But I get you're saying we have to be neutral, unite, bring the best of both sides, right? For us to be better, so just all Republicans are good, Dems are bad, vice versa, or I'm a capitalist, you're a socialist, since you're different, you're evil. While both tribes have really contributed to destruction. They label the other ones the devil, but the other side's not doing any better either. But if you unite them, then unite, just based on common ideas that are, of course, very agreeable, then I think that's something that, what, I like this movement. I really hope it becomes the next staple and a staple for the rest of humanity to come. It's nice we have technology. It's nice we have all of that. But I think this is the evolution I think humans need to focus on from. It would be nice to focus on in a long time ago. Oh, certain people did. Make this a staple, as opposed to, chief technology officer, because even several decades ago, that wasn't really a thing. Chief technology officer.
Yep.
That was because,
this is the natural evolution.
It's true. Because chief technology officer, that's like a couple decades ago kind of thing, like 2010s. That was becoming a thing. even a little earlier than that. Definitely not the 1990s and early 2000s. Only very progressive, innovative companies were thinking of that, and most of it was like, we'll get to it. And then we get to it whenever, until they was forced to, you build a website just to keep up with the evolving customer landscape and climate. So I hope this thing really, I hope this chief conscious officer make consciousness a norm, a thing for business, because I think we have been losing that. Everything's about quick buck. What's the best, make the most buck with lowest amount of effort and cut corners and not care about quality as much. So I think consciousness, will have, I would think, but correct me if I'm wrong, if it's going to address those issues or not. But I think maybe conscious of unity, and that I agree for sure. But that division will destroy business eventually.
It's both. It's both. And to when you say, I hope this catches on, it's guaranteed to catch on. It's absolutely guaranteed to catch on, because consciousness on this planet is the force that takes an 11-year-old and turns them 12. Did you need a teacher to turn 12? Did you need guidance to turn 12? No, there was just time, 365 days, right? We as humans think we need to interact with everything. What we've shown is when we're left to our own devices, look at the world we create, right? Thank God consciousness is a natural force. It's the natural wind behind every 8 billion people's cells. So this is not a possibility. This is a guarantee. So the point of pioneering this position is letting companies, businesses, politics know that consciousness is going to be the central of humanity moving forward, because the awareness of consciousness is going to be what people pay attention to, because we're going to go past this. This is what caused all the issues. This is divided. Okay. It's always has been consciousness. Now we're going to be aware of it. You're going to want someone on staff who understands that. You're going to want someone on staff who understands the division and conflict created because of the mind. Go ahead. I think we were talking about how consciousness is going to be the center of humanity. So when you say you hope this movement takes off, or you hope this happens, there's no hope. This is going to happen. Consciousness is going to be the center of humanity. Right? It has always been the center of humanity. It's been the center of everything in our existence. It's fundamental to our reality and to our experience. What's happening now is we're becoming more aware of it. This thing, the middleman, the thing that caused all the problems, the mind, the divided mind that only knows Catholic or atheist, Republican or Democrat, picking the side, causing division and conflict. More people are going to start to understand the source. Consciousness. Consciousness birth Catholics and atheists. Consciousness birth Republicans and Democrats. Consciousness is neutral. We are born neutral. We are conditioned with continuous bias and teaching from our parents, from our teachers, from our society, from our colleges, from our education, right? We're doing the best we can. I'm not saying anything's wrong. The system of capitalism is not wrong. Religion's not wrong. Politics aren't wrong. People are the issue. Because people don't understand that their mind's divided. So they're very hell-bent on believing they know what's right. You got a 50% chance, tops. But we always think, because our heart tells us, our gut tells us, our instincts tell us. Well, your heart, your gut, your instinct, your mind was conditioned by your parents, by if you grew up in Utah or Texas, or if you grew up in the Middle East, or if you grew up in Japan. We don't ever put that into account. We just think, this is who we are. This is where I grew up. I'm going to be Buddhist. I'm Japanese. Cool. I'm going to be Mormon because I live in Utah, and that's right. Okay, fine. You're going to be Baptist and in Texas. Okay. Perfect. You don't understand that if you were born in Texas to a Baptist family, but adopted by a Japanese family from day one, you'd be Buddhist. No one ever brings that into account, right? If you were born up in the Northwest, you'd probably be left. If you were born in Texas down in the South, you'd probably be right, and vice versa, right? No one's bringing awareness to this. No one talks about levels of consciousness. No one talks about the simplicity of understanding that what we believe to be right and true was just conditioning. And we really believe that our side, our church, our politics, our beliefs are correct. And whoever doesn't believe it is the ones ruining the world. They think the same thing. We've been doing this since the beginning of time. We got to change it up. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And I've heard that thousands of times from both sides of the argument. So everyone's kind of aware that doing the same thing over and over again is insane, but we keep doing the same shit because we don't know. So we got to change that up. Luckily, consciousness is a natural force that will force that upon us.
All right, that is great to hear, because I think that's always been with us, even before, these great technologies we have, this multimedia technology. Consciousness always been there, right? Just that we gotta make it the forefront, and just bring it to like the main awareness, And no, I like this, because I feel like we was falling further apart. Me personally, I'm gonna speak anecdotally. I feel like it was further falling apart from, what it means to be a good human and all that. We just get so obsessed with, making a quick buck, just trying the latest toys, and just cut corners, dominate, destroy the other side just to get a quick buck. Or, dominance or whatever you want, or bragging rights, whatever you want to call it. Sure. That causes that great, competition, scarcity, kind of mindset that causes division within, even I'm gonna go further, even within the Democrat Party they fight among each other, even within the Republican Party they fight among each other, and even among this usually with sports team, even team members fight among each other. Mm-hmm. Divide. I could just go further, but you get the point. You get the point, listeners.
Yes,
go there, but it is deeper in that. So I like that this is becoming, actually not forget, I love that this is becoming, a staple. I'm sure it is. And those companies who refuse to adapt, well, they're going to collapse. What's a good example to bring Blockbuster? Blockbuster was the biggest names when it comes to renting movies. They only got one store left in Oregon. They're that small, that insignificant because they refuse to adapt. Mm-hmm. Like Netflix. Netflix was laughed at 90s. Yeah, I saw Netflix when users rent DVDs and stuff. They weren't that big, but until they adapt streaming, that's a game changer.
Well, the other thing is, here's the great example of that. I believe Blockbuster was offered the ability to buy Netflix. So that's my belief is right and you're wrong. That is the constant division. It's in business, it's in religion, it's in politics. You think of these companies that just have endless resources. You would think as things evolve, maybe we go more eco-friendly, maybe we go to solar or wind, kind of like an oil company. If I was an oil company and I had $36 billion in profit or whatever it is, some massive amount of just revenue and profit, I'd just start buying solar companies. And maybe they are. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't talk about it. But if I was Blockbuster and someone was coming up and it kind of scared me, kind of like Kodak and the digital camera, being aware of it, understanding both sides, I would purchase them so I could expand with them. But that is the perfect example from a business side, from a non-business side, from a political side, from a religious side. We believe that we have the truth. We believe we know. We believe we're the only side. We believe that no one can take that from us. We believe that nothing's ever going to change. Continuously changes. Consciousness constantly forces it. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to stay 11 years old. You're not. And for the women who say they're 29, 10 years in a row, we are constantly changing. So I know it's difficult as humans. It's difficult for me. It's difficult to see things. It's difficult to see the bad choices I've made, the parts of the road that I should have taken and shifted and changed. And I know that made me, and I know that's what makes everyone on this planet. But what's going to happen just naturally, because we don't like change, consciousness is forcing change upon everyone on the planet. And it's going to be the center focus of business, of politics, of religion, of day-to-day life. You're just going to want someone on staff who understands that. Truly.
Yep. So, what would be example of living in the past and all that? Yeah, I love the Kodak example too. Oh, Kodak was the name for film and photography. What happened to them? Oh, well, first it was digital cameras, which didn't do that much to dent the bulb. But once smartphones was able to take pictures and edit and do all this good stuff. Ooh. Mm-hmm. But let's be fair. Hindsight is 2020. At that time, they thought things wasn't going to change. So let's just be fair to that. Blockbuster is just like, this streaming thing was a fad. It's going to die down. Yep. They could have been right, but unfortunately not in this case. But they could have been. Let's go to ones that didn't adapt. They just thought this is going to be the way of life for 20, 30 years. But streaming caused a disruption. Phones cause a lot of disruption. Mm-hmm. So how we take pictures and surf the web and do a whole bunch of stuff with that. That caused a major disruption. And I like that, consciousness forces us to change. Maybe they tap to the consciousness. Maybe Blockbuster would still be a big name. Maybe Kodak would still be a big name. Who knows? They will be taking even different ventures, because some people take different ventures after a while. Who knows, right?
Who knows? Exactly.
We can speculate all of that. But I think this is why we got to be more aware and connected with consciousness. Consciousness is always there. Just think about connecting our awareness to it, right?
Yeah, knowledge is structured in consciousness. So the more we're tapped into consciousness, the more access we have to knowledge. Everything we've ever known, learned, thought about, read in a book, listened into a lecture, looked for some teacher, for some guide, or for some book, for some movie, or some podcast, that's just someone's opinion. And that knowledge came from the same place you get your knowledge. You have access to all knowledge. Now, it's not an all-seeing, all-knowing. We're a very limited human being with a physical body, but our awareness points to things we enjoy, things we like, things we're passionate about, things we want to learn, or maybe things we're forced to learn because we have a job we need to understand. You have access to anything you want. You can read a book. That's fine. That's how we've gone about it. But you start tapping into the vast resource where that book came from, you're tapping into the same resource where that book came from, you will have access to that knowledge. You can tap into it. Everyone can.
Yep. So consciousness don't discriminate. So let's just be clear about that. Let's just throw like a little, because I don't want to hear. This is not the type of episode I want to hear about silliness like white privilege and racism. It's not this type of episode. Politics, I will entertain that, but not this kind of episode. We're going beyond all of that. We got to tap into consciousness. I'm sure there's some truth what you're saying regarding those construct ideas, but this is more about evolving humanity, elevating humanity in a collective sense. As well, he's doing it in the business. I mean, he's doing it all things that this podcast covers: the tech, the politics, and even development. And individual levels even beneficial.
Yeah,
so
consciousness is touching all three.
Go ahead.
Consciousness is touching all three. All three of those are coming from consciousness. You want to get better politically? Understand consciousness. You want to get better with technology and understand humanity or your spiritual side? Understand consciousness. There's nothing separating or division or conflicted about consciousness. So anyone watching this and thinking this is one specific of the three buckets, it's all three buckets and then some. And there's nothing, if you believe that what's coming out of my mouth creates division and conflict, or you think it's not part of one of those three buckets, or you think something's wrong with it, or it goes against your beliefs or views, that's how you see it. This is neutrality. This is just understanding where every thought, every side you've chosen, every belief you have came from consciousness. If you think it's a problem, if you think someone's against you, that's on you. If you think someone's for you, that's on you. That's perfectly fine.
I'll be getting this, listeners. I know some of you could be a bit skeptical and all that's fine, but I'll be at least listening to this. Think about this. Think about this, how this can be applied. I cover those buckets, but I'm sure it goes even beyond these buckets. Like he said at the beginning, everything is consciousness. I don't know how you decorate your home. Things I don't really talk about. And you could just fill in the blank. Consciousness is involved.
Yes, it is.
I don't talk about raising kids and all that because I'm definitely not an expert. And who the heck am I? I'm just a guy yelling at the mic at that point. That wasn't ruin my credibility. I told stuff I have at least more knowledge and experience in. You're not going to hear me talk about fashion and dating advice and all that. So no, I am not qualified. I'll be a charlatan, and please feel free to call me out if I head that direction. Please feel free to call me out. Please. I want to be called out. Set me straight. I sound welcoming now, but I want you to do it when things get heated. I'm sure I'm going to be defensive. I'm sure I might even lash out, but you know what? Is what I need. Not what I want to hear, is what I need. Okay. So, this is why I stick to these buckets. These are the ones I'm comfortable talking about. Conscious touches way beyond the buckets of this podcast. It's just, that's how big consciousness is. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying. These are just small parts, very small parts of consciousness. I just happen to cover these three buckets: politics, tech, development. If I put an S in between that, it'll be PTSD, and I don't want to have that acronym come up. So we're just going to leave it like that. I don't want to promote it. PTSD. That's just the mound, and God, help those people really. I'm just gonna focus just a little bit more on the tech. I mean, how can we maintain our humanity? Let me just go with a big broad question. So just saying AI and all that. I mean, how can we maintain? I feel like we're losing our sense of humanity being overly dependent on these technologies.
Just be aware, right?
And be aware of maintaining our humanity somehow.
You think technology, we got quite a few people who are worried about their jobs being taken. I completely understand that. But we use technology for everything, right? We use AI to get our toothpaste same day from Amazon. We use AI on our phones. We use AI to get us to a location. We use AI continuously. And now because it's coming after us, it's a problem. That's how humans work, right? There's a good and a bad in everything. There's a pro and a con. There's a Republican and a Democrat. We just need to understand technology. We need to understand artificial intelligence is not artificial. We created it. There are unique ways to use artificial intelligence. There are the understanding that just like everything else on this planet, there are going to be people who are for it and there are going to be people who are against it. Artificial intelligence is going to take the jobs of quite a few people. I assume there's going to be new jobs created in some sort of different fashion. I'm not an expert on that. And I don't really like to talk about that too much in detail because I can't imagine what so many people are going through that they had all this safety and security and then all of a sudden it was taken from them because of artificial intelligence. How this pans out, I have no clue. How we keep our humanity, I think part of artificial intelligence is forcing people to understand our humanity. Because if we go off and we're seeing what happens when we take too much technology. We see what social media does to our kids. Hell, we see what social media does to us, right? It used to be a big thing for drugs and drinking, AA, and figuring out some way to get off drugs and drinking. This thing and social media is 1,000 times worse because we don't think it's bad. We're checking our phones like we're crack addicts. Social media is absolutely horrific. We should be embarrassed how we treat each other on social media. The continuously letting the world know what we're doing when so much of the world doesn't have what we have. The selfies, all of that stuff. It's embarrassing. We should be embarrassed with that, right? Technology it's not a necessary evil. It's not even a necessity. It's just the way it is. There are just too many people right now at a certain level of consciousness that are just going with artificial intelligence. They're going with technology because it does make their life easier. Again, there are going to be quite a few jobs that are taken by that, but we have been using artificial intelligence for quite some time to make our lives easier. And we enjoyed it until it came to something we didn't, to hurting our family, to hurting ourselves. There's so much division and conflict. This is just another topic that creates pros and cons. It creates people who are for it and against it. To keep humanity, a chief consciousness officer is going to help that, because allowing the individual to know that the mind, this middleman, the issue, the thing that is either for AI or against it, helping people drop into the source, helping people drop into the ability to tap into knowledge as knowledge, destruction, and consciousness. It does take them from here and expands their awareness. Expanded awareness, maybe they'll see things differently. Maybe they'll look at a job differently. Maybe they'll find a new job in a different industry. Maybe something they were completely turned off to, they'll be open to when they expand their awareness. The best thing we can do is open ourselves up to consciousness, tap back into that. We've unknowingly severed our tie from it. Now, we are consciousness. We can't really sever it completely, but we're always up here in the mind. I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Tapping back into the source is going to expand everyone's awareness. It's going to give them clarity. They may see the world differently. They may see opportunities differently. That's all we can really hope for. That's all we can really give the individual, is access for them to expand their vision, expand their perception, to see what happens from there. Anyone who says they know what's going to happen with technology or humanity, we're creating a whole new planet, a whole new world right now. There's no map. And that's quite scary for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any major disruption is going to be scary. Some people's going to be hopeful about it. Those are just different reactions to the same major event. I like when we that type of countries, we have like a tunnel vision. We just have a limited understanding, limited perspective what's going on once you open it. And for those of you who are just pay attention to audio, it looks like I'm just trying to peep at somebody. I may look a little crazy doing this, but I'm creating my artificial tunnel vision. I'm just covering my hands over my head, just get my eyes, just a limited vision here. And then by the time once you start tapping that consciousness, it opens wide, expand out vision, awareness, and all of that. And I'm just giving an explanation because I don't want to just alienate you audio listeners. But that's what it's like when we want to ignore and disconnect from consciousness. We have a very limited, darkened perspective. And then once we get into that, it opens, and then you're going to get a lot more aha moments and changes that's just going to come out profoundly quick, I would say. So,
agreed.
I know I don't normally like to have the happy and some silly jokes and all that, but I just want to make sure you're actually paying attention to this, because this is actually, I say this is serious. This is more serious than political issues, tech issues. Well, this is a very humane issue. This, again, I don't think it's any more humane than this, really, if you think about it.
No, because humane, humans, humanity all came from consciousness. It's the creator. It's the creator of everything we know, physical and non-physical. So why wouldn't we want access to that? Why wouldn't we want to understand that? Right? No different than math. A second grader understands math at a certain level. A seventh grader understands math at a certain level. A high schooler understands math at a different level. A PhD level mathematician to applied mathematics to the universe understands math at a different level. Consciousness is the same thing. We need to better understand it. We will have better lives for it. We will have better understandings for it. We will be less divided and conflicted for it. We will go from third to fourth to fifth to sixth grade on our own in a more sped up fashion when we start to understand the source of it all. We haven't been paying attention to it. Kind of like the fish in water. Hey boys, how's the water? What the hell's water? That's consciousness. You and I are swimming in it. Your listeners are swimming in it. We have access to it at all times. Just bringing awareness to that. That's a very powerful thing.
Oh, yep, absolutely. Yeah, because we could live life in a certain way, just, I don't know, metaphorically put your head in the sand, so to speak. That's like trying to throw concepts. I mean, that's what a lot of people like to do, especially when they're afraid, don't want to deal with it. It challenges their normal way of life, their convenient way of life. And I think convenience, and that's why I love that the way you describe social media, I think is the biggest drug. It's worse than even illegal drugs because we have access. The access to it is nearly ubiquitous. It's available. And yeah, and it affects our people. And especially, it impacts adults negatively, but it really impacts the youth badly. I mean, it's just more bad to worse. All right. It's not good or, if you want to talk about people can't handle it. They can't deal with social situations as well because everything is just click and all that. And you're right. Social media is selfish. I mean, even my profile, I could say it's not selfish, but it's coming through me. It's coming through my perspectives. Everything's filtered through me. So it is self. I mean, I try to make it seem like it's not, yeah, but it's coming through me. I mean, I talk about what happened in Columbia University at a political event. That's coming through my perspective, my understanding of things. Even though I'm trying to make it sound as objective. So true, social media is stuff. Even the company is representing that company's perspective, that company's goals, that company's, agenda.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna see a social media of that company. Let's just use Netflix, for example, insult itself. It may attack a competitor. That's not going to really insult itself. You got to go to the other social media site. What's more like Hulu? Hulu will be critical of Netflix because it's looking out for itself, even the business perspective and a person's perspective. The profile represents that entity or person, period, at the
Yep.
fundamental level. And
Yep.
that's something you have that, some of you understand that maybe subconsciously, but I'm bringing it to the consciousness so you could clearly grasp, what we were saying here. That's why he said social media is embarrassing. It is because we do silly pictures of ourselves. So, look, be fun. The cat and the dog add-ons to the photos is make it fun, or, add glitter and, different shades of lighting and weather effects. I mean, I like the weather effects. That part is pretty cool, even though that's why it's so addictive. We do all this stuff to make ourselves seem awesome, and we want to share what we want you to know about us. We're not going to tell about something embarrassing or anything like that, or anything that's negative. So that's why social media itself. I mean, he's right. I mean, I'm not going to debate that. At the fundamental level, that's what social media is. At a very fundamental level. If you want to argue against that, go right ahead. I invite you to, but I think it's a fool's errand. At a fundamental level, that's what that is. So, alrighty then. So before we get to all of that, let's do some shameless plugins. You have a LinkedIn account, and that's what I was able to find.
Yeah, I would like to steer people there. But LinkedIn is the best. It's an ongoing conversation of what the chief consciousness officer is and specifically what it's not. How it can help a political party, how it can help a business, how it can help an individual. So I like to steer people there.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the social media, but it's probably the
A little
most
bit more adult.
professional and ideas and all that compared to all the other stuff. Let's be clear. It's
Yeah.
most, you can share ideas at least. That makes it a little more selfless, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
compared to all the other ones. Twitter, which I refuse to call it X, it's self-oriented. Facebook, very self-oriented. Instagram, super self-oriented, especially with the visuals and all that. They focus on different things, but it is that. But I think LinkedIn on me, it has grown on me. Before I used to find it boring, but now it grows on me because as I get to have the professional, you get to share great ideas. I mean, stuff that we should know, and then people just chime in, and it's not, they're not giving you "f you" and your mother and all of that. That's also other social media sites like Twitter, which I refuse to call it X. I know it's called X, but I don't care. I'm that petty. I call it Twitter. You're gonna call it Twitter if you support me. But they go now making it about me, causing a little division on that. But that's hacks. I don't care. It's a bad rebranding. That's my issue with that. But anyway, so check out his LinkedIn. Check his LinkedIn so we can know a lot more, get more in depth about Chief Consciousness Officer. Forget about making a movement, make it a permanent change, which is inevitable. Hey, so I feel actually optimistic about that. Hey, no, really, I am. I'm always optimistic because it's gonna be. It just is. We gotta stop, be disconnected to who we are. Just you could deny it all you want, but that's a fool's errand. Debate this all you want, it's a fool's errand. But I do welcome it because I will respect your freedom, even though you're being foolish about it. Check him out. It's going to be the link in the description. Okay. He's not even, he's not even doing selling a bunch of products like a lot of guests. So come on, talk to him. If you think I'm being too commercial, he's not being overly commercial. He's the least commercial guest I got yet. Least commercial. And I encourage shameless plugins. I encourage him to be a bit selfish.
Just come to LinkedIn and talk and have a discussion. Ask me questions about consciousness and how it can help your business.
Yeah, and just keep it on that. I don't encourage you to ask anything else outside of that. You want to know about the CCO, Chief Conscious Officer? He's a guy to talk to. He'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. And that's all I could say. It's normally a lot longer. I normally say there's a book, there's a website, there's a deal, there's a freebie. None of that. So if all you think I'm overly commercial, well, can you give me this pass, at least for this episode?
Not today.
I'm not overly commercial. So I definitely have learned something or even or I should shift my awareness to certain things and ignore stuff that I thought was important, but it's actually very trivial and nonsensical and distracting. I think distraction is our biggest problem. I'm sure you agree. Distraction. What's different? What's important to me? I think those are distractions that I think causes us division and all that. So just trying to unite and see that we're a lot more similar than we think. So that's wonderful. We definitely need more conversations like that. So just what's latest tech, what's latest social media news, who smack who slack with who. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. And that it causes divisions because some people like that person more than the other. Some people hate them. That's nonsense. That's just distractions. That's causing a division. So, alrighty then. So that's all I want to say about that. Now for my shameless plugin, which I'm not slowing down on, give a like, share, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Those only reviews I'm paying attention to. I will happily ignore you. Okay. And give me feedback. Feel free to comment. I got good comments. I got hateful comments. I got constructive comments. I even ignore the happy comments. The ones I pay attention to are constructive ones. Those ones that get my attention. Negative ones, you say F you, you're stupid. I ignore you. I don't got time for you. You're not worth it. And then for the positive ones, I thank you. That's all I can say, but it's not going to go much from there unless you have a new idea or something constructive to help the show grow. And leave a donation. And there's a link to Buzzsprout as well. The lowest one is $3 a month, but that's completely optional. It's up to you. But I am going to start coming up with perks for those. I have some ideas for those who want to just donate. You get a little more exclusive content and even your own emotes, so you can be better than the rest, so to speak. And that's all I got to say. This has been a great conversation. And this is something that should have been done, I'll say long ago, but I guess better late than never, I guess. Or that's all I can say about that. Alrighty then. So whenever you go through this whole audio visual journey, right? Once you complete that, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.